By the year 2020, it is estimated that there were approximately 10 to 11 million undocumented illegal aliens living in the United States.
Pablo, Pablo, Pablo el molinero.
During the 4 years of the Biden administration, it is estimated that an additional 12 million to whatever number it is that Donald Trump says it is, that number of immigrants also crossed illegally over the southern border. No matter what your position is on the matter or whose numbers you are willing to accept, it is a topic worth taking a closer look into. One thing that has always bothered me about some political arguments is the unwillingness of all sides to even acknowledge the role that their side may have had in contributing to the problem. Take the war on drugs, for example. It is simply too easy to blame the problem on the drug cartels and, by extension, the countries from which they originate. Without a doubt, those countries do bear their share of responsibility, and the cartels have shown themselves to be extraordinarily evil. But no one can reasonably deny that the huge number of consumers is the reason the market exists in the first place. No users, no dealers. I see a similar situation with the topic of illegal immigration. There is a diffidence when it comes to recognizing that all sides, Republican, Democrat, and other, are responsible for allowing the problem to get where we now find ourselves. Over many decades, the U.S. has tolerated large numbers of undocumented laborers to work in certain industries because of how the low cost and even exploitation of those workers contributed to the bottom line. By extension, consumers also gained through lower prices on the goods they bought. These were business concerns and not defined by any particular political bent. I also have a problem with putting all the blame solely on the shoulders of the border crossers. I think they must have known that what they did wasn't legal, but often we made it much easier to break the law than it was to follow it. I mean, why bother with all the paperwork, appointments, fees, and whatever, when all you really had to do was get there and someone would give you a job? If it was that big of a deal, why didn't the authorities go after the people giving them the jobs? Then there are the political considerations, but I'll get to that later because it really goes to the heart of the problem, and especially to the difficulty we now have in dealing with it. For now, I'm just going to say that a simple admission that all sides played a part in bringing us to this tipping point might at least slow down the pace of the discussion we have today. At least I would find it refreshing. So, at this point, you might be saying to yourselves, "Gee, Pablo, did you just waste 3 minutes of my life so you could tell me that everyone is to blame and therefore no one is to blame for the problem of illegal immigration in the U.S.? Is that what you're saying?" No, not at all. Wait a bit. First, a little history for added context. In 1990, there were an estimated 3.5 million unauthorized people living in the U.S. In the ensuing 15 years, that number jumped to 12 million, give or take. In 2006, the issue of illegal immigration became much more politically divisive during the second term of George W. Bush. The temperature of the national debate went up with the passage in the House of the Sensenbrenner bill, which mandated strict immigration enforcement, a 700-mile border fence, and universal employment verification. On May 1, 2006, a pro-immigration protest dubbed A Day Without Immigrants was held with more than 1 million people participating nationwide. On the other side of public opinion was a protest effort known as the Minuteman Project, whereby citizen groups would patrol the border as a means to draw attention to the ineffectiveness of the mechanisms by which we control the southern border. Since hitting a peak of 12.2 million illegal residents in 2007, that number has stabilized to between 10 and 11 million, and the very issue of illegal immigration has become increasingly polarized along political lines. The Democrats wanted to provide a path to citizenship for the undocumented population, while the Republican position was focused on securing the border. Distrust among the parties grew, and I never believed there was any real chance for reform in all those years. It just became increasingly more difficult for either side to compromise. Many candidates on both sides had to appeal to the extremes of their parties in order to be nominated for re-election. And me always being the cynic, I could never get over the feeling that the Democrats were more interested in gaining constituents from legalizing undocumented people than they were in the welfare of the people coming across the border. At any rate, At the end of 2016, something astounding and mostly unexpected would happen, which would end up changing the conversation about everything. On the first Tuesday of that November, Donald Trump was elected 45th President of the United States of America. In part 2, I shall explain why Trump's election turned out to be transcendental in the conversation about illegal immigration and, quite frankly, everything having to do with politics in the United States. Thank you for watching. This is Pablo El Molinero.